Welcome to Marketers Drinking Beer, a live conversation featuring marketing news, trends, and case studies gently lubricated by discoveries from the world of craft beer. On today's show, we welcome our guest host, Kirstin Crane of Crane Concepts. Kirstin will be joining us as we discuss Adobe's acquisition of Marketo, influencer marketing with Pinterest, and Salesforce's new voice solution for conversational CRM. We'll also debate whether or not content is still king, while sampling a new stout from Brawling Brewing. All this and more on today's episode of Marketers Drinking Beer.
All right, everybody, welcome to Marketers Drinking Beer. Welcome, panel. How's everyone?
Doing great.
Great. Oh, we might want to come down with that a bit. So welcome to Marketers Drinking Beer to everybody here at the lovely Limerick Pub in wonderful Wheaton, Maryland.
I love this place.
You love this place?
Yeah,
why do you
Guinness.
like it?
They
They have Guinness. They've got all sorts of good
kinds
stuff.
of good beer.
All sorts of good beer. That's exactly right. So, and welcome to those of you watching out in internet land on Facebook Live. We appreciate you doing it. So we've got an interesting set of topics for everybody tonight, and also a day of first, because one of the things that we're doing for the first time is we have our first guest host, Kirstin Crane.
Yeah.
Yay. Kirstin Crane of Crane Concepts. Welcome, Kirstin.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you and Crane Concepts? And
Sure. Well, I'm Kirstin Crane, and Crane Concepts is a marketing consultancy that I formed in 2005, I think. And we serve a variety of markets, everything from federal IT to state and local government to media, publishing, and healthcare and education. And it's really fun to work with all different kinds of organizations with different kinds of marketing challenges every day.
so I usually start off by asking people what they've been up to. What have you been up to the last couple of weeks?
I've been doing a lot of event marketing. A lot of my clients are evaluating events in terms of branding and in terms of ROI, which I think we'll get to in a little while on our panel today. And you know, working to get butts in seats and you know, provide some kind of compelling content at events. So that's a lot of what I've been doing lately.
So our head today is about butts in seats and what to do with those butts once you get them in the seats. Right? So
Sounds a little risky.
something like that. That's what she said, as you said earlier. So Dave Martin, what are you up to? Who are you and what are you up to?
My name is Dave Martin. I'm the Director of Marketing at the American College of Radiology, and I have been heavily focused recently on agile marketing and moving away from using Basecamp to Jira and getting that all set up within the organization. So doing sprints and working with an outside consultant to help us get that set up. But we're right in the throes of it right now. So big marketing department, 18 people, all of a sudden shifting to a whole different way of doing things is a lot of work. A lot of work.
And a lot of fun, though, right?
And a lot of fun.
I'm Patrick Dorsey of Impexium. What's going on?
Things are going great. We've had a busy month. It's kind of wrapping up Q3, so we've had a lot of focus on planning for 2019. But one of the exciting things that we kicked off at Impexium was a video testimonial campaign with ThoughtCast Media. Know some of the guys there, and we're doing a lot of interviews with customers, putting those in social media bits, 30-second clips as well as 2-minute clips. That we'll use in a lot of our channels, and the best marketing is your customers. So if they're happy, it's building pipelines.
Did he pay you to say that?
I did.
No,
not at all.
It was pretty good though.
Yeah, it was very good.
though.
It was really
It's
good.
worth a beer.
Right, it's worth a beer.
So, ThoughtCast Media, Paul Gannon. We're struggling with one of our customers right now who's doing a series of testimonials. He's very difficult. And,
Wow, this is a tough panel.
no, we've got actually,
What'd you get yourself into?
A rough crowd.
as a small company, you get lots of work, and then you work the work, and then so we're in the middle of doing a lot of actually editing video and getting the video out there. So we'll see what happens. Lots of other customers coming in various stages. So things are good. So let's get to our very first segment here, which is the tasting room.
Oh yeah.
And we've
Best
got
part.
That's a good segment.
That's right, introduction to the beer. So Jen Rogers is here from Brawling Bear. Come on up, Jen. How are you? Hey, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
How's it going?
Great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And following on her footsteps, here comes Brawling Bear beer. Look at this.
Oh man, I'm loving the Brawling there.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You don't need the water.
Oh, well, I've got flavored water.
I will say thank you. We used to feature 2 beers, but we decided that
Thank you.
we would get
I'm
it
taking
wasn't
this
good. Somewhere in between beer 1 and beer 2, people started falling off of chairs and so forth. So tell us, what do we have here, John?
So this is our low blow blonde ale, I believe. It's a very malty take on a blonde ale. I think typically when people drink blonde ales, they think of very bland, watery, kind of flavorless beers. We kind of broke the rules a little bit and really upped the grain bill so that you could really taste those grain flavors. So think of bread and toast and maybe unsweetened graham cracker. And that's what you have here. Yeah, and 6.7% alcohol.
Oh,
Very
is it?
low IBUs for the bitterness,
Right.
so it should be very drinkable beer for you guys.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love
good
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
And we got a special going on in the pub tonight for those of you who are here. Give this a try. Certainly won't miss it. So tell us a little bit about the brewery.
So we're based out of Gaithersburg, Maryland, and our brewing was really born out of a frustration of the different beers in the market being super hot bombs, and my partner and I were really looking for something that was drinkable, enjoyable, something that you could have more than one of and not kind of have your palate be destroyed.
Right.
So our first beer was our IPA. It's a very citrusy IPA, but very drinkable, and you can definitely have multiple sips, multiple beers, and just, your palate's not destroyed, so you're really more so enjoying the experience than trying to kill yourself.
Right.
I think it's so interesting you said the hop bomb, because there's so many big, heavy, hoppy beers that you drink some of it. Sometimes I get a stomach ache, literally, because it's so hoppy and super bitter.
And there's a place for that, but I think the public are kind of tired of brewers trying to outdo each other.
Right.
And our take is really just making easily accessible beer in an IPA that everybody will enjoy, a blonde that everybody will find something interesting in. And even our new coffee stout, making a nice, approachable coffee stout.
And we also have that for sale here tonight, do we not?
We do. That's actually a collaboration beer between Brawling, Calvert Brewing, and Pinkava Coffee Company. And 10% of the net profits are being donated to the Breast Cancer Research Fund. So the more people drink, the more we can give back. And we're lucky enough that retailers like the Limerick Pub and other beer and wine stores throughout the area have really bought into what we're doing. And as of this week, we're almost sold out. So
Really?
Wow.
and we've just started distributing everything. So going into the month of October and being able to say that we're practically sold out is just a really special thing. So
And October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month,
October is
right?
Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's something that has affected all of our families, at least at Brawling Bear. And I know Pinkava, she's a survivor as well, and a lot of her profits go back to different research groups for breast cancer. So, yeah.
So drink beer and for a worthy cause.
If we wanted to buy this after tonight, where could we pick it up?
So you should look at brawlingbear.com. At the top you will see a little find us button, and you can enter your zip code and it'll tell you what the closest beer store to you is. Yeah.
Great.
So Jen, I'm a woman among men here on the panel. Do you find yourself a woman among men in the brewing industry?
I do. I've kind of never feel pretty fearless as I go into situations, so it's not necessarily that it bothers me, but I do feel like I'm kicking down doors every once in a while.
Good. Kicking down doors is a good thing.
It is a good thing. It's funny that in today's day and age you get some sort of resistance for being a woman from some people, but I'll say more often than not, the brewing industry is just such a welcoming, friendly atmosphere that it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, or even what your level of experience is. People are interested, they want to work with you, they want to support one another. So it's a really cool industry to be a part of.
So you said you used to be in the marketing business. As an owner of a brewery, you're obviously in the marketing business. So what's the secret to marketing beer?
For us, there's so much noise in the marketplace. I mean, maybe not as much in Maryland as there are in other states around, but it's really being able to have a consistent brand. I think a lot of brewers pay attention to that single label and making it have a really cool name and a really cool graphic, but how does that translate into the larger brand? So for us, when we came out with our packaging, we wanted to be very simple, very easy to read. So the IPA is the red one, the blonde is the yellow one, The counterpunch is the blue one, and so it's very easy for that consumer to not even remember the name, but know it has a bear on the front, know it's the red one, and know that they're getting what they're looking for. So.
Very cool.
So simplicity in design is
Simplicity
what
in
you're after?
design and brand consistency, you know, within your product packaging, and then carrying that to every other touch piece that you have.
Very cool. So what's next for the brewery? What's the next big thing?
You know, the next big thing will be our tasting room. We actually
Oh,
bought a fermenter today.
really?
So, yeah. That'll be later this year.
And where will that be?
Up in Gaithersburg. So we're distributing out of that location.
Well, I live in
now.
Gaithersburg, so maybe.
Yeah. Like, what's the street address?
Yeah, it's 15 Folks Corner. So
I know
Old
where that
Town
is.
Gaithersburg,
Yeah,
right
very
across the street from the police station.
Very
So
cool location.
no shenanigans.
So it's where you are now.
That's where we're at now. Yep,
Right.
that's where we're at now. We just haven't opened the doors quite yet. So.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting.
Was there anything that inspired this beer? Were there other beers that you might have had in the past, or something that?
You know, we've drank a lot. We've made a lot, and made a lot of good and made a lot of bad. Maybe more bad than good, but that's part of the process. You know, this was a second beer that we released, and we knew that we wanted something completely different from the IPA, so that the people who tasted the IPA who were like, I'm not a hop person, that we had something for them. That way when we stood at tastings, it's like, oh, I don't like this one, we'll try this one, maybe this is more your speed. So that's why we chose that one as our second release. But if you go to our website, we have a list of, I think, 30 different beers that we're just chomping at the bit to get out. So.
You know, when I first tasted this, I thought of Leffe, the Belgian blonde.
Oh, okay.
That's what it kind of reminded me of.
Take the compliments.
But I lean towards Belgian beer, so it's not surprising. Is it?
Yeah, no, it's good. I love the malt forward taste of it. It's really nice. People seem to be afraid of malt. I don't know. You don't see a lot of. It's not as popular,
Yeah, I
obviously.
think
as,
right now everybody's on IPAs. It's starting to be more the New England style, the juicy IPA.
Yeah.
I think you'll start to see more of a casual approach to beer as we move forward. I mean, there's so many other options out there, and so many other really cool magical things that you can do with just 4 ingredients. You don't need to add cucumber, you don't need to add jalapenos or juice purees. You know, it's really taking it back to the simplicity of these 4 ingredients, the water, the yeast, and really honing that in and you know, making something that you're proud of.
And all of the Ferry has been running on those 4 ingredients for hundreds of years.
Exactly. And I also think it's easy for bad brewers to hide behind some of those additives.
Yep.
And listen, other people are doing it really well, and I'm not trying to knock them, but there's a beautiful simplicity to really honoring the ingredients and bringing out what's special about those ingredients. You know, something like our Counterpunch Ale, Counterpunch Pale Ale, we wanted to highlight a pear flavor, and so we played with the yeast and we played with the hops until we could get a pear profile that wasn't kind of beat you over the head, but like it's there, and it's just a beautiful representation of that particular hop and that particular yeast in conjunction with one another. So.
Very cool. Well, Jen, thank you so much for sponsoring us this evening.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming out. We learned a lot. And give Jen a big round of applause. Yeah, thank you, Jen. Thank you so much. All right, it's time for our speed round here of Wort on the Street.
Wort on the Street.
My very
had to look
clever.
that up.
See? Now
If I'm going to be a marketer drinking beer,
you need to
I need
understand
to
about
learn
Wort.
the names, the nomenclature.
So, well, I know you, and I know you are a marketer who drinks beer, so you're good. So, Dave, why don't we start with you? You got big news for us today.
I have big news.
Yeah, don't
My
you?
article?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I read an article recently.
I'm going to time you now.
I thought you wanted me to like say. So I read an article
Bring out the
recently
bell.
in Search Engine Land about remarketing. There's a lot of remarketing being done in marketing. It's not anything new, but there's a newer concept of similar audiences that Google has started doing. So if you think of a remarketing, you're getting people to come to your website, you drop a cookie on their browser, and then when they go back to another site, could be through search or it could be through social media, you serve up an ad to them. But typically that's limited to the people that come to your website, right? So you might have a list of 1,000 or 2,000 people. With similar audiences, Google will look at your remarketing list and then expand that to look at the search activities of people that are searching on Google. And so take that list of 1,000 and turn it into like 100,000 based on a list of people that have already come to your site. So they have similar search characteristics or tactics that they've done in the past. So I've never heard of that before. It was new to me, and I'm on it.
So if you're looking for tires, you might be sort of an ad for carburetors or something like that, or are carburetors even a thing? Like sort of the similar type of...
Or you might be searching for tires in, I don't know, in Maryland. I don't know if that's the right analogy. And if you're selling tires, are we selling tires? Is that what we're doing? So we're selling tires?
Lots of tires.
I don't know what the analogy is there to it, but it is essentially saying take that typical person that's searching for tires on your website and then look at everybody who uses Google and searches, and if they have similar characteristics, serve your ad to them. So, it's really interesting.
Yeah, very
Is that good timing?
That's great. You've still got 20 seconds left.
I'm done.
Well, I think we should use that 20 seconds to drink the new beer that came out.
Yes.
So this is the coffee stout.
Wow,
Cheers.
it really smells like coffee.
Hello.
I'm going to be up all night. I love
It's like
it.
coffee.
Cheers, man. Wow. Cheers.
Oh.
Yeah, you're done.
You,
Okay.
you left them hanging.
Dave,
That's delicious.
that's a lot of flavor in there.
Yeah.
Wow. Might replace my venti Americano every morning.
That feels like a right
I
cross.
just thought of that.
That's good stuff.
It tastes like a right cross. That's what it does. I love that.
Okay, carrying on. Kirstin, what you got for us?
Well, I was reading an article the other day about Fortnite, and I have 4 teenagers in my family, and
God
Fortnite
bless you.
are words that have crossed our dining room table on more than one occasion. But the article, I think it was on HubSpot, it was talking about what makes Fortnite different from all the other freemium models out there. And it really comes down to the premium customer experience, the user experience that Fortnite offers. It offers great graphics, great design, great in-game upsell opportunities, and it creates a community because of that. People want to share it, they want to do it together, they want to record. You know, if you've ever seen those videos of grown men in their living room playing Fortnite together, you know. But it's that user experience that really brings Fortnite to the front. It makes $150 million a day, and it's projected to make $20 billion by 2019. So I think we all need to invest in Fortnite.
20 billion, right?
20 billion.
20 billion with a B.
So it's just a reminder to me as a marketer that user experience is really something to pay attention to always, and creating those shareable moments within a community. For those of you in association marketing, things like things you already know are just really good reminders.
Good stuff. Patrick, what you got?
Well, I've been reading a lot of articles or even interviews on, Nike's decision to use Colin Kaepernick in their iconic Just Do It campaign. And I learned a lot about the campaign in the background. The first Just Do It campaign was like an 88-year-old or 88-year-old who ran 17 miles a day. And, it was just do it, get up and move. And over the course of the years, it's evolved, and certainly by picking Colin Kaepernick, created a lot of emotion, right? People like, oh, the rebel and all these things. And I took a step back and I said, it's not really about this emotion that they think they want it to be about the brand, which certainly, can convey a lot of emotion in the Just Do It theme. This was very much a calculated risk, and we talk about data-driven decisions or data-informed decisions. Like Nike was spot on, right? And how the first they're going to lose some stock price, and now they're up like 10%. They quantified it. They had like $43 million worth of media, exposure. 20 or 50% of that, almost 20 million, was positive. But really, what I think it came down to was Nike looked at their community of buyers, really their kind of addressable market, and it is some disproportion, like 65% of it is under the age of 35, right? And then they looked at millennials, and they found that like 80% of millennials make, if you will, decisions based on causes, right? So they look at Colin Kaepernick almost as a sympathetic figure, of not playing football, and they did that calculated risk on a global scale. Of not just like, yeah, this will really tweak the NFL, right? This was a business decision where you see all the talking heads talking about like, oh, it's emotion and wow, let's pick a side about this, that, and the other thing. This was all about data, right? This was about data, and it was about money, and they made a business decision give them credit that there was some risk there. I don't want to take that away from it. But at the end of the day, they ran a model and they said, this is going to work. And they felt the probability was there. It's not as cool to talk about that as opposed to some of the emotional things. But I looked at it and I'm just arguing like, that was smart, data-driven decisions.
Plus, there's the old adage that there's no such thing as bad advertising, right? I mean, any sort of...
No, I mean, I was more like they ran that first ad right on the opening night of NFL on that Thursday night. I was more, I wanted to see the ad more than the football game. I was like, I don't even care who's playing, right? You know, I wanted to see like, what is going to be the reaction to airing this former NFL player who's suing the NFL on arguably the biggest night of the season, the kickoff night. They're competing against no one. It's one game. Everybody's out there. You know, boom, and it's like everyone's talking about that campaign. I was like, look at those guys at Nike.
Yeah.
You know, and they're competing against the Under Armours. This is a competitive market, and they basically went to the top of it. You know, of the discussion. I was like,
Okay,
good.
moving along. Good stuff.
Verbose there. I
Very
think.
good stuff, yeah. So Salesforce had their big meeting last week, I guess it was?
Dreamforce.
Dreamforce. I've never been to Dreamforce. Have you been to
No.
Dreamforce?
Who are we talking about?
I will be going there at some point.
Yeah. Some other company, Patrick. So, but at any rate, Einstein, who does their AI, it's their AI engine, they just launched something called Einstein Voice. So not only will you be able to create records and smartly inside of Salesforce. So if you're a salesperson, you'll be able, coming back from a meeting with the customer in the car, you can say, hey, you know, here's what happened. And it's smart enough to parse out dates and follow-up information. So instead of having to type all that information in, it's simply going to flow in through voice. So that's one half of it. And the other half of it is that you'll be able to set up your own voice bots to do all sorts of things on, you know, voice machines, you know, so Alexa and so forth and so on. So if you're a car rental company, you could set up your own bot that Alexa will run, that you can say, hey, Alexa, rent this car for me and so forth. So it's not only a bot engine, but it's this engine that allows you, salespeople, we've all dealt with salespeople trying to get them to put stuff into the CRM. Just driving back in their car from an appointment, just turn on your phone and talk into the phone and tell the phone what your meeting was about, and it goes into your CRM. So pretty cool.
That is cool. I like it.
Dave, what you got?
The other story I've got is from Martech, and it is about Adobe acquiring Marketo for $4.75 billion. So Vista Equity Partners, over the course of 2 years, made $3 billion in profit. So on one side, you've got this coming together of two large companies, right? Adobe being bigger than Marketo, but some of what I read is that they estimate that it was a multiple of 10x on the acquisition. So it's a big vote of confidence around marketing technology and how important it's become in the middle of, as a tool for marketers, but as a tool for businesses and where it's going. And we know how much technology and tools have exploded, but it's really fascinating to see the two companies, or Adobe acquire Marketo for that much money and that much profit for Vista Equity Partners.
So is this a good idea? What do we think?
I think it does bode well for confidence in marketing, or sort of if they're willing to invest that much money in this tool, it seems like they might think it has legs.
Yeah, Adobe has got all sorts of sort of experience software and so forth.
That's right.
They're known mostly for their creative stuff. I live inside the creative suite.
Right.
Myself. Do you really? Yeah. And so the marriage of those two sides of the marketing game, I think, is really interesting.
It is. Although they do, like you said, they have their own marketing automation platform. It just hasn't gotten the traction that Marketo's gotten.
Right.
So it's pretty smart. For Adobe, I think it's a smart move.
I agree.
We'll see, but maybe they bought them at the top of the market, but we'll see.
I'm waiting for the deal. They're going to send me an email. I'm waiting for the email. Hey, as a Creative Suite subscriber,
Free trial?
we'll see. It'll probably be, you can step up to this new system for more money than I'm willing to spend. But we never know. Anyway, Kirstin, what you got?
Well, my second word on the street item was about Pinterest opening up its API to third-party influencer marketing platforms. So the idea being that these brands can have a little bit more insight into influencers and create buzz and strengthen their brand, have a little bit more reach. And I think that's really interesting. I, as a marketing consultant, sort of using influencers to market is a little new for me and my clients, typically small businesses, but I do have a client in the medical education space, and we're just exploring using patient influencers as a way to advocate for our educational activities. So in a certain practice area, so we're having an activity on cardiology, and there's a patient influencer in the cardiology space. Having that exposure in that vehicle is something that's really interesting. So I thought that they're calling the article called them pinfluencers.
Influencers, of course.
Influencer. Nice.
Yeah. So we can all put that on a bumper sticker. I'm a pinfluencer.
Patrick, what do you got?
So at Impexium, we ran a survey with our customers, just basic customer satisfaction survey. And we found out one of the ways that they preferred to receive information from us was from our newsletter. We have a monthly newsletter. And so it raised a lot of internal conversation. Should we be doing, maybe twice a month or once a week or once a month? And so I read a lot of articles. I just Googled like newsletter best practices, customer newsletter best practices. And I thought it was a really good exercise for me personally because it kind of got back to the basics of reinforcing, things like subject line, about graphics, less is more on the page. Be direct in what your call to action is. Make it obvious what you're asking them to do if you are asking them to take action. And I found some great ones on, marketing profs, Martech, and it was kind of a good we tend to overthink things and we tend to think of like these big picture things and it just got back to the basics of like, right, it's important about the subject line. It's important about to be quick and direct in what you're asking them to do. And so it was a really good exercise for our team to kind of take a time out, focus on what we were trying to do. Is they like the newsletter, let's just make it the best newsletter and focus on the, if you will, the basics, the fundamentals.
It's great.
Very cool.
I do that all the time. I find myself, I'll just Google best practices around XYZ to refresh you. Right? Find some good articles that are recent, and put in 2018 in it or whatever year you're in, and get some of the latest. So I think that's great.
It was just good to kind of get back and be like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are we doing that? And then look back at a couple of newsletters and almost put them on the board. How could we do this a little better? Does that fulfill that? This is a good exercise of here's what we want to do, here's what we don't want to do, here's room for improvement. It's a good team exercise as well.
I read something recently that said that in newsletters, they are now scanning. Very clear. They're not reading a newsletter, right? They're going to scan through it. So less is more. Right, and
be direct in your action, give them almost like a big button. Things like so elementary, like big button, click here, right? And it's like, yeah, but you're right. It's like they get so much in their inbox. It's like going down the interstate. That billboard better just be like, boom, got milk.
I think the same thing is true of blog posts too. What you said about people just scan it. I read an article recently about best practices in posting articles on blogs that will get read. And it was really specific, the sort of the quantified headline, 8 things you can do to improve your golf game or whatever. Those always perform better. Or how I did this, those types of headlines, as well as sub-headlines, which sort of, kind of coincides with what you're saying about scanning. People just, if they read nothing other than the subheads, what would they take away?
Right.
I think you might be able to apply those same practices to a newsletter.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, my last issue is YouTube is replacing textbooks.
I saw that.
Did you see that article?
I did see that.
So very interesting. This is for Generation Z, who comes after the Millennials. The Millennials started heading in that direction, and Z has taken it all the way to a new level. So they all, when they asked these kids, I think it was 5,000 kids that were asked, where do you get most of your information for school? It's YouTube.
Yeah.
So as a video marketing guy, I think that's a great idea. But at the same time, how do you sort through the information that is not good? There's lots of conspiracy theories out there and lots of fake news and so forth. And so I don't know. It's kind of a two-edged sword, but it is very interesting. The kids don't want to read books; they want to watch video.
Well, it's interesting because we certainly know from a marketing standpoint that people learn in different ways. Like some people are very visual, some are audio, right? And we have to think about that as we're training maybe customers. And so, to change the subject a little, it's funny that you say that. So I coach a Little League baseball team, a bunch of 10, 11, and 12-year-olds, and we might be talking about...
Is it true that you guys were undefeated last year?
We're not undefeated, but thank you for asking, right? So we need better coaching, that's what we have. But we were looking, that we can talk about a lot of things, whether it's fielding or hitting, and I found if I go on YouTube and I find a clip that maybe shows what I was trying to show on a footwork or how they're holding the ball or throwing or hitting, certain kids will see it, and it makes much more sense to them of what I was explaining or what the other coaches were explaining, because they can watch it over and over again, practice it and watch it over. Because again, you have to recognize people learn in different ways, and so it makes a lot of sense for the kids. And I tell you, like the parents will say, he's watching that clip over and over again, right? And it's a major league player, so they get excited, like, oh, that's what he meant.
Put some marketing in there.
It's an interesting standpoint. I know, but it's an interesting. I found like here I am repeating the same thing. If I show them a video, they're like, oh, I get it.
Right.
And I feel like the smart guy.
Yeah.
What's interesting about the YouTube, the reason that came up for me today was because the client I was talking about in medical education has just launched a YouTube channel, kind of as our first little test balloon out there. And not a whole lot of continuing medical education is available on YouTube. It's just not a thing. So my client has decided this is what we're going to do, and make this education that you can get credit for, a physician, clinician can get credit for on YouTube. And that article popped up as kind of part of that. And so it's to be seen whether or not this is going to be a viable channel for my client, but it's kind of that whole different people learn in different ways.
Right.
Maybe professionals learn in different ways, and my client sees this as a marketing opportunity.
Well, for what it's worth, I guess it'll be 2 years this November. We went up to Toronto to shoot the American College of Chest Physicians, their annual meeting, and it was thousands of people downloading that stuff. And because you don't have, it's hard for people to get to meetings, to get the education and so forth. So lots of people all over India, all over Africa, all over Asia, people who would never be able to make it to Toronto, and great lines in there, great comments, things like, thank you for doing this, we never would have been able to travel or afford to go to your conference, so to be able to get this education is really great. So it was kind of a great experience for us. We got to hear things about medical procedures that you probably don't want to hear about. But at any rate,
But remember, YouTube's the second biggest search engine.
second biggest search engine, that's exactly right. So let's talk a little bit about our last Marketers Drinking Beer poll. Our question was, do you use chatbots? And 75% of the people on the poll said no. So what are you doing with Drift now?
At ACR, we're not doing anything yet. Looking at it for the organization, I've been there 4 months, so I certainly want to move towards conversational marketing using a platform like Drift, but it has broader implications. Some of what I've read on best practices are, don't jump into it too quickly, understand how you're going to react and how you're going to be able to answer questions, because you might have the bot answering some questions initially, but then at a certain point you might hand it off to a salesperson, business development, marketing, whatever it is, and you got to be able to support that, right? So then you start to get into multiple teams within the organization. At a big organization, 500 people, you got to be deliberate about it. I wish I could be just diving in there and winging it as I go, but not yet.
Anybody else using bots?
I've looked at Drift in the same way. We made a similar decision, sounds like, that Dave made at ACR, that we needed to have more of a strategy before we kind of implemented the technology. And I looked at it almost from a number standpoint too, that I wanted to generate more traffic to the website in areas that we could leverage it before we just kind of rolled it out, because I was afraid that from an executive standpoint, the executive team, they'd look at it and say like, oh, we're spending X amount, and if we didn't have the traffic, it would show like a quantifiable ROI. What I thought was a really good idea and will help us eventually might get quickly poo-hooed because maybe it's new and they didn't understand it. So I thought it was better to wait So we had a couple more things well thought out, build some metrics around it. The drift team, to give them a shout out, has been very helpful in helping build that argument for my senior management team, as well as like even the sales team and other people within the organization. So I think it's eventual we'll use it.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, has anyone benefited from the latest algorithm shift with Google? We're going gangbusters.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah. I don't know, we're doing, so our typical sort of day is like 30. We're really happy when we get 30. We're doing 50 and 60 pretty much every day.
Wow.
For the last 2 months. And the reason I ask this is because now all of a sudden I'm getting a lot of drift notifications from outside the country. Most of our people on the web are coming from inside the country. But I'm getting a lot of stuff from outside the country, people trying to sell me stuff. Hey, you want to buy this, that, or the other? Stop! But anyway, just out of
the wrong
curiosity.
traffic? What'd you do?
Just for drift.
Okay.
Just lately I've been getting a lot of people from India who are trying to sell me services.
So they're starting to use the chatbot as a way of, okay.
Yeah.
It's the new spam.
It's a new spam.
Spam up your chatbot.
The problem with it is that it beeps on my phone when I'm trying to watch television. I've got to, how can I help you? That's
Or when you're playing Fortnite.
Or when I'm playing Fortnite, exactly, with Kirstin's kids.
Yeah.
So our new poll
You're
question.
welcome anytime in our dining room.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So our new poll question is our first beer poll question. More hops or less hops?
That's easy.
It's easy for us.
Easy.
Well, for us, I think.
Oh, I am not a hobby person.
We'll see. That's our point.
Yeah.
So you would be less hops.
But my husband is. He more hops all the time.
He would. Yep. So
Yeah.
I'm happy, but I'm not hoppy.
That's nice.
Good looking beer.
I love
you
this.
look at
This
it,
is a
Does
great
look
beer.
good.
this was like, as far as
really
beer
like
color
this,
goes,
yeah.
it was like inviting. I was like
Yeah.
excited when it came on the table.
I was too,
Sometimes
but
I get
I
a
saw
little
it.
I get a little nervous. I'm like, ooh.
No, I saw the hair stand up on your arm
you
there
see my
as you reach
excitement?
for the
Oh,
pint.
but this
I was
one is-
excited.
Oh, yeah?
More than fun
I'm
for
excited.
I know. This
Watch out,
smells
Kirstin.
so good.
Isn't it so good?
And
It's
it
like,
tastes good too.
yeah, that's like cherries or something like that. Oh, there's a whole can here. I'll have to
Hey.
drink it.
There's no cherry
All right.
there.
Yeah, there is. There's some prune. There's some dark. It reminds me of sherry.
Yeah, a
Not
little
sherry,
bit.
sherry.
Sherry?
Yeah.
So
We're just drinking it. So
it's time.
screw you
Yeah,
guys.
go for it. Time to move to head to head.
Great.
And our topic is content still king? Patrick.
Content is still king. So here's our kind of thought of the day, right? We have the Martech stack, if you will, right? When we talk about Marketo, Adobe, but all these technologies are going into marketing. We have mobile, waves of data, BI, ABM, AI. They're all the acronyms, and it's overwhelming in the sense of how do you define the 21st century marketing department, and the objectives of that department. And I feel in the last couple of years, there's been this great focus on content is king, and content marketing, right? And it's great in many ways because I think it has allowed marketing to justify a lot of their actions, right? Giving us credibility at the table, if you will, other than like, you guys are the tchotchke guys, right? For so long, we have a chip on our shoulder, and yet I feel it's this focus on, if you will, the pipeline and the funnel and quantifiable, that we've kind of said that everything can be solved with more content, with better storytelling, right? And the artful storytelling. And I think it's almost defocusing, if you will, the ability to think about all the other ways that we're impacting the brand, right? And a lot of people call this the customer experience or the brand experience. And when you think about what we were talking about with the brewery or even with Fortnite, right? There's a lot of things that go into building a brand, right? And it could be the community, it could be the logo, right? And the artist fact, it could be pricing and customer support. All the different touch points create the brand experience, right? But if marketers are so focused on the content marketing and the storytelling, are we in a position, to really focus on that brand experience, right? We've almost become tunnel vision. And if we lose that ability, like someone else is going to take it, right?
But isn't the brand experience, it ultimately comes down to content. They're on our websites because they want content. They're not there because I would like to go to a website, have the experience of getting content. It's ultimately...
Here's my point. You can have the best content, right? You can have the best storytelling. if your customer experience from a customer support level is poor, the content is irrelevant, right? Because that is a key, in my opinion, that is a key. You're losing the ability to maybe build a reference account, right? Or let's say you're hindering the ability of that great content. You're not going to get the ROI from that content. And so from a marketer standpoint, we've become so focused on the content marketing and quantifiable metrics of building a sales pipeline and funnel that we realize that our brand, which certainly is impacted, is multiple touch points within the organization. It could be partners, it could be the creativity. And if we lose focus from that, from a marketing standpoint, are we almost conceding, the future, like someone else will own it? So my challenge right now is what I'm thinking about, and I raise this to the panel, right? Are marketers in a position, do we have the right staff? Do we have the right, resources and expertise in place to really build that brand experience? Because I think if you build the right brand experience, then it becomes more than storytelling, right? The story keeps going because stories have a beginning and an end. Your brand is almost like omni-channel. It has no beginning or end. And you have to think about it as 24/7, like the Fortnite community, like the brewery, right? They could have the best beer, but if people say, like, I went to the brewery and I got a rude experience, right, from customer support, you're not going to buy the beer. I think people will accept a lesser product for a better experience.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that, but I do agree that you can't have content marketing at the exclusion of everything else.
Right.
And it sounds like that's what you're afraid of.
I think we're drifting in that direction, and if we don't kind of reclaim some of these other things, that other departments will have it, and then from a brand standpoint, we'll be like, hey, that's not our brand.
Right. Yeah. Well, I can't speak from a marketing department standpoint because I'm a consultant and I don't have a marketing department. I am a marketing department for a lot of my clients, and I know that I've actually had a client tell me, don't focus on content marketing. We need you to focus on getting butts in seats, getting clicks, getting this engagement with our customers. So I think that I do think that without great content, whether it's an event, whether it's a download, whether it's a newsletter, you're dead in the water. But I do think you have to take a holistic approach to your marketing, and it cannot be at the exclusion of everything else, that content marketing. I don't know that the right focus for a marketing department or marketing consultant can solely be on content marketing. We're all as marketers looking for that holy grail. What's going to be the magic pill that's going to make us all rich, or create this amazing customer base? I don't think that content marketing is it. I think it is the holistic approach. So I don't know.
Yeah, I would say that there's been such a focus on the funnel and getting the customer, and there's not enough focus on what happens after you get the customer. We talked about that in the last episode a little bit, right? Like we're driving people through the funnel, and then once they get through there, and we talked about the flywheel, that whole concept, right? That goes to what you're talking about a little bit. I am a huge believer in thought leadership and content marketing and showing value and answering the questions that keep your potential customers or your existing customers up at night and helping them make the right decision for them. And that's part of that funnel. But too much and too often we stop focusing as marketers on customers once they become the customer, right? Once we hand off that opportunity or SQL to the sales team, we're like, we're done, and we got to get 20 more SQLs, right? So
it's sexy to spend time with my customer support team and think about how they're interacting with the customers, who arguably are my best.
Maybe they should be on the marketing team. Maybe customer service should be part of marketing.
You know what? I would agree on that, as well as training, right? Like we've had that discussion. I argued for it, and people are like, "You're crazy." I'm like, I almost, from a marketing standpoint, and I got to be careful that I can fulfill this promise, right? Because we don't have unlimited resources. But I almost feel like it is my role and responsibility that everybody that interacts with a customer has to have like a marketing playbook,
well,
right?
But you know who does this really well is Higher Logic does this really well, right? They have a great customer base. They've got the Orange Army of their staff, first of all, right? One of them. But then there's one guy right out here, Rob Kane's out there. So that's a little shout out. But it's true, like you think about in the industry, in the association space, they have built community, right? So building community among your existing customers is a great way to improve that experience, right? And so they have raving fans, right? They have raving fans because they sell community and they sell marketing automation software, but then they actually they walk the walk afterwards. So their customers are happy because they're interacting more and learning from each other on a regular basis. So that experience is important. But for me, content to get them in the first place, but then delight them afterwards, right? Keep them happy after.
Okay, I got to stop the conversation. We're at the end of our hour. So thanks everybody. Thank you, Kirstin, for joining us. Thank you all of you out there. Please join us next month. And we're on the 25th of October from the wonderful Limerick Pub.
Should we come across?
Come in Costco. Ooh, sounds
That
good.
could be fun.
All right, everybody.
Man.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Come on, bring it. Good job.